Your attention isn't yours anymore. It's being stolen bit by bit every day. You try to focus, but your mind drifts. You open your laptop to start working and end up deep in a real rabbit hole. You blink, and 45 minutes vanish. But here's the truth. The system is designed to keep you distracted. For 5 years, I struggled with this exact problem. I couldn't focus, stay consistent, or build lasting habits that would transform my life. I tried everything: apps, planners, accountability partners, even expensive coaching programs. But nothing stuck, and I blamed myself. I thought I lacked willpower or discipline. I believed I was fundamentally flawed. What I didn't realize was that the problem wasn't me, it was my approach. As B.J. Fogg, a Stanford professor, points out, if you have attempted to build a habit in the past, but you couldn't stick to that, you may have concluded that building habits is hard, or you can't succeed because you lack motivation. But here's the truth. The problem is with the approach itself, not with you. The failed approaches. When I first started focusing on building better habits, one of the biggest mistakes I made was asking too much of myself. I would go from reading hardly ever to attempting to read 1 book per week, or from getting up at 9 a.m. most days to trying to roll out of bed before 6 a.m. every morning. The distance between where I was starting and where I wanted to be was so great that I failed constantly, and each failure made it harder to succeed the next day. I tried tracking streaks on apps, setting reminders, and creating elaborate reward systems. I wrote lengthy journal entries about my intentions. I even tried the popular 21-day myth, believing if I could just white-knuckle through 3 weeks, I'd be home free. But here's what happened instead. I'd start strong, last about a week, then miss a day and abandon the entire system, feeling like a failure. This cycle repeated for years. The turning point. My turning point came when I stumbled across a concept that revolutionized my thinking: identity-based habits. Instead of focusing on what I wanted to achieve, I needed to focus on who I wanted to become. As one person described it, I stopped eating unhealthy food via identity change. I tried many times in the past, but it became easy, natural. Only after I had made the conscious decision that I want to be someone who eats healthy. Instead of aiming for, I want to stop eating bad food, I tried changing the mindset to, I am someone that eats healthy and lives a healthy life. It changes how you approach things. This was my first major breakthrough, but it wasn't enough on its own. I needed a complete system. The discovery process. Over the next several years, I immersed myself in habit research. I studied the work of James Clear, B.J. Fogg, Charles Duhigg, and dozens of others. I tested different approaches, documented what worked, and abandoned what didn't. I realized that most habit advice falls into one of 4 categories. 1. Make it obvious, cues and triggers. 2. Make it easy, reduce friction. 3. Make it satisfying, rewards. 4. Make it identity-based, who you become. But no single approach addressed all these elements simultaneously. And that's when it hit me. I needed a comprehensive habit system, not just isolated techniques, the ultimate habit building system. After 5 years of trial and error, I finally developed what I call the self system. Start small, environment design, link habits, feedback loop. Here's how it works. Step 1. Start small. Really small. The first principle is starting ridiculously small. And I mean ridiculously. When I say small, I don't mean run for 10 minutes if you've never exercised. I mean put on your running shoes and stand outside for 30 seconds. This might seem trivial, but there's profound psychology at work here. When you make a habit so small that it requires almost no motivation or energy to complete, you eliminate the most significant barrier to consistency: resistance. As James Clear points out, it's better to do something for 2 minutes every day than for 2 hours once a week. The frequency builds identity, not the duration or intensity. Step 2. Environment design. Second principle is designing your environment for success. Your surroundings are more powerful than your willpower. One reader described how they built a reading habit. I've read more books by continually having 20 to 30 books on hold at the library. It saves time on browsing for books. I always have new things to read with a 3-week deadline. Another person shared how they drank more water. I use color and placement for visual reminding and motivation. I poured water in a bright aqua water bottle, my favorite color, and placed it on my nightstand, so I couldn't miss it when I woke up. Malcolm Gladwell calls this the tipping point, that small change that tips you over from making excuses to taking action. In one study, simply adding a map of the university campus showing the health center and vaccination times increased the vaccination rate from 3% to 28%. Step 3. Link habits together. The third principle is linking your new habits to existing ones, what James Clear calls habit stacking. One person used this to learn a language. When I first moved to China and started to learn Mandarin, I committed to strike up a conversation with the taxi driver whenever I went into a cab. I took a lot of cab rides, 5+ daily. I did it for 2 years, no matter the time of day or how tired I was. I now speak fluent Chinese. Another reader shared, I meditate for 20 minutes after brushing my teeth in the morning. Linking new habits onto a keystone seems to work. By anchoring new habits to existing ones, You leverage automatic behaviors you already have to build new ones. Step 4. Feedback loop. The final principle is creating a feedback loop through tracking and reflection, but not in the way you might think. Instead of focusing on streaks, which can be demotivating when broken, I developed a monitoring system. As one habit expert explains, at the beginning of the year, I felt the idea of tracking sitting on my heart. So like the nerd that I am, I made myself a worksheet. On it, I choose up to 5 habits for every month, and I check a box for each repetition. The goal isn't perfection, not by any means. I'm not shooting for 30 check marks per habit per month. It's just monitoring. Following through with my daily habits helps me feel like I'm on top of life and in personal alignment, but it's an exercise to help me develop consistency, not perfection. The missing piece, the flashcard system. But there was still one piece missing until I discovered a unique flashcard system that tied everything together. It works like this. Create index cards for each habit you want to build. On each card, write 1. The habit name. 2. Why it matters to your identity. 3. The specific cue that will trigger it. 4. How to make it ridiculously small to start. 5. How to track it. The beauty of physical cards is that you can shuffle them, prioritize them, and have a tangible reminder of your commitments. I keep mine visible on my desk and review them each morning. How this changed everything. Once I implemented this complete system, everything changed. I went from someone who tried to build habits to someone who has strong habits. The identity shift was profound. I started with just 3 cards: reading, exercise, and daily planning. For reading, I committed to just 1 page per night before bed. I placed a book on my pillow every morning so I couldn't miss it. I linked it to my existing habit of brushing my teeth at night, and I tracked my consistency with a simple check mark on a monthly grid. Within 6 months, I had read 15 books, more than I'd read in the previous 2 years combined. But more importantly, I now identify as a reader. It's not something I do. It's who I am. I applied the same system to exercise, meditation, writing, and even relationship habits like calling my parents weekly. Each one integrated seamlessly into my life. Why this works when nothing else did? This system works because it addresses the 4 fundamental aspects of habit formation simultaneously. 1. It makes habits obvious through visual cues and linking. 2. It makes them easy by starting ridiculously small. 3. It makes them satisfying through the feedback loop. 4. It makes them identity-based through the flashcard reflection. But most importantly, it removes the biggest barriers to consistency: friction and forgetting. When your environment is designed for success and your habits are triggered by existing behaviors, you don't need to rely on motivation or memory. Your turn. If you're still struggling with habits after months or years of trying, remember, the problem isn't you, it's your system. Start with just 1 habit. Make it ridiculously small. Design your environment to support it. Link it to something you already do every day. And track it without judgment. Create your first habit card today. Write down who you want to become, not just what you want to do. Then take that tiny first step, because ultimately, we don't rise to the level of our goals. We fall to the level of our systems. And after 5 years of searching, I can tell you with absolute certainty, the right system changes everything. If you found this video helpful, give us a thumbs up and comment down which habit card you're going to start in the next hour. Consider subscribing for more productivity support.